Hello and welcome to episode 2 in this series of COVID response, we'll call it. We don't really have a name for it at the minute, but what are we doing and what would we recommend you to do as our clients and those of you that aren't our clients, people just in business or in your personal life, in how to get through this period safely and make it to the other side, and hopefully your business be intact and reset and go again. So in this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit through what we have done as a business. Now, I know a lot of the guys that we work with, the things that we have done won't necessarily apply to you, and a lot of you will have done a lot of these steps already. But there may be some things you can pick up in these stages to come up with some new ideas for yourself, and hopefully give you some inspiration of what it may look like when you get back trading. Because at the minute, we're still going. We've had some up and downs during the past month, but at the minute, we're still here. Still got my hoodie on. The lights are still on, and we're still going. So, So what have we done? I'd say the first thing that I go back to is very early. We felt we had warning signs, and that we worked with companies that were being hit quickly. Travel companies that worked in the cruise industry. If you remember back all the way, we're recording at the minute on the 28th of April, and early in March, coming towards the end of February, there was a cruise ship where people were retained on. And if you remember in the first figures of coronavirus, do you remember the daily figures that were coming out? Now we just seem to look at the UK figures here in the UK. We know what's going on in other countries. But there was a cruise ship named because they quarantined a load of people on a cruise ship, and they all, not they all died, but a lot of people died on that cruise ship. So we worked with a company that take people to cruise ships. So we'll operate the coach travel. So they're one removed from the actual cruise companies. And the cruise companies were starting to make decisions to, pull back on cruises, to cancel cruises before the government were giving no travel advice or what was going on in that industry. So we were getting some quite early warning signs of what was going on. I remember a conversation with one of our members of staff who said, it won't affect us, will it? And at that point, I knew it was going to affect us big time, but I could see from their eyes how, this affecting some travel companies, or this affecting how we do European travel, might not have made an effect on us, but if it was affecting all these other countries, it was probably going to come here as well. And the restrictions that were in place in other countries at that point, like China, and it was coming into Italy at the same time, were inevitably going to hit us at some point. So to start preparing for that, to start thinking about that and thinking about what would mean to our business. We are a growing young company, just entering our third year. Our birthday was yesterday. Nobody said happy birthday to me, actually. I just realised 27th of April. I completely forgot about that. But our birthday was yesterday, and 3 years in, we're growing. We're trying to expand quickly. Year on year, turnover's been up, profit's been up, more clients, more higher value clients, at higher average price per job, and all that is going up. So we've been growing in all aspects as we go through. But this was going to put a halt to all of that, and has put a halt to all of that. So how can we prepare for that? So for me, the first thing was to be open and honest and discuss with the team. This is pre-furlough, and all this information coming out, we were discussing, could we reduce hours, go to 80% of the hours for 80% of the money, 60%, 60%, etc. And having them discussions, and the team all being on board that, that phrase kind of, we're all in this together, that I want to be here on the other side of this, and be giving you a job on the other side of this, but in order to do that, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. And that happened quite quickly. Obviously, the furlough information came out, which has helped and took some pressure off, especially me as the business owner. My biggest worry going into this, we can go bump, lose all the money, whatever, we'll start again and we'll go again in another format. I'm sure we'll work it out. But the staff that I employ, and they've got bills, they've got mortgages, they've got jobs, families themselves. So it's important that we keep it together for them. So that was a big side for me, looking after the staff first. And once we've had them discussions, it was starting to talk to customers that were most in need, and giving them the support where we can. Now, a difficult situation, and I've spoken to my accountant, the similar ethos to this, in a way that their workload was going to increase, and yet their billable or their charges was not going to be able to increase. They couldn't just whack a load of charges on people at the minute while everyone was struggling. They want to help, but the labour and the time that was needed to invest in people was going to grow quite substantially, and we were feeling them effects. But we want to help. I felt like if we could help a company now, even if they do go bump, the people that own the company would remember that, or the people that work there, and would remember the way that we dealt with it during this time, and continue to deal with companies. As I say, touch wood, nobody's yet completely pulled the can or pulled the rug on their business, but I know there's some that are really fighting hard to keep that going and don't know what the future will look like. So we had the discussion over staff, over costs, but we also had the discussion with suppliers. My main two costs are the suppliers that served, servers, and we've got suppliers like Adobe who supplies subscriptions and things like this. And I wanted quickly to look at what we could do to mitigate the risk and cut the costs where we could with them, and see if there was any offers available. Could we sign a longer contract? So we didn't envisage going anywhere. We just needed some help right now. And most of the suppliers that we've dealt with have been, great to us so far. So where we've had to give some leniency to some of our customers, especially the customers that really aren't trading at the minute, where we've tried to cut their bills down to as little as we possibly can, we've then asked for help of our suppliers. And I just think that if we can do a bit for them, our customers, and our suppliers do a bit for us, then everyone's taking a little bit of the load, and that's worked really well for us. Is to cut them costs. So my first thing was to cut costs, to look after staff, and to look after the customers that we already had and where they came through. And we're coming into the next, I'd say about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, so middle to early April, we started to make decisions. We cut down to 1 member of staff plus myself. And since then, we've looked to continue to service the customers that we've got, but also then start to see if there's any new opportunities. Could we pivot and come up with some new ways of making money, look for some new clients that were trading to replace some of the clients that aren't trading at the minute? And how could we go about that? I've also seen some of the customers that we work with do similar, pubs that are doing click and collect point for fruit and veg. We've got shops that we work with that are doing click and collect and online deliveries. We've got normal, leisure type businesses that had stock, that have been selling the stock online. There's all sorts going on, and it is great to see that what different ideas people are coming up with. Not all of them are income producing. Some of the guys that I've seen and other owners of businesses have gone off. They've been NHS first responders, volunteers. They've gone and got jobs in supermarkets. They've done whatever it takes to keep them going and keep their businesses afloat, or keep their own personal life afloat, so they can get back to their business when this is all over. So for us, I say we've cut them costs. We've looked for new opportunities. We've tried to remain positive, tried to keep talking as a team, tried to keep talking to each other, moving more to video calls rather than just, telephone calls, just to keep that social interaction going, and just trying to find any way to keep the cogs turning, that we can survive this. And this isn't about making money or making profits in this time. This is about survival and being here when this is all over. And if we can have done a lot of good things in the middle, a lot of good deeds, I think that'll leave us in good stead at the end of this session. So I will come back in the next episode where I'm going to talk a bit more about cutting costs and how you can go about that in an effective way. Cheers.